my top 5 guitar players, but not just the ones that inspired me, their impact on the world on 7 a.m. Good morning. Hello, hello. John Henry Soto here. It is Friday, May 14th, 2021. And we are here getting ready to launch 7 p.m. tonight for the first time. If anybody knows that I'm a crazy person. Now, I'm not doing an everyday show with that, but I have guests every once in a while that I want to have on the show. 7 a.m. is a little tough to tell people to, you want to be on my 7 a.m. live show. So I decided, well, let's do 7 p.m. And that's just going to be primetime interviews. So whenever you see a 7 p.m., it'll be a primetime interview. Tonight, I have Councilman Neil Carroll from the First Ward here in Bayonne, New Jersey. We're going to be talking about all the efforts, the vaccine efforts, and the COVID situation. We're going to talk about the ferry. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you're in Bayonne, this is going to be a great show to watch. It's tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Councilman Neil Carroll on the new 7 p.m. show. All right. But right now it is 7 a.m. and this is what I do every day, Monday through Fridays. And if you like what we do here, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell people, hey, you know what? There's this little Puerto Rican guy, and every day in the morning at 7 a.m. he comes on. He tells stories and he talks about things and he motivates and he drinks some coffee and he'll make a few jokes, some of them funny, some of them not funny, and and then he goes away after about 25 minutes. So, and see if they like it. They might like it. You never know. But yes, please tell people and share it. I appreciate it. All right, folks. Thank you very much. So, I decided to lighten up a little bit, right? I do a lot of motivational stuff, and if you go back, I have over 100 episodes now, and they're very, a lot of they're fun, and they're have to do with life, and we talk a lot about, I talk about the Way to Happiness booklets that I give away for free. If anybody wants one, I could also email you an electronic copy of this. You can barely see it. There it is. And then of course the truth about drugs, the stuff that I talk about constantly on the show on the last 100 episodes. I mean, they're based in, I don't really talk about the books themselves, but that's where the some of the content comes from articles I've read and things like that. So I decided, you know what, I'll have other things that I'm passionate about, so I'm going to actually start doing other shows and interject a little bit more of just conversation here as I move on and go on to the next 100 episodes. So today I thought I want to talk about my favorite guitar players, but I don't want to talk about them in the one, because I have a lot of guitar players that inspired me, right? I mean, when you're a guitar player and you open up that Pandora's box, and guitar players that nobody really has ever heard of are out there. They're just amazing. Let me drink some coffee. Sometimes the first conversation I have is when I say good morning, and I don't realize that I need to warm up my voice a little bit because I haven't spoken. I just woke up. I made some coffee. I did some emails. I read some stuff. I looked over the show, and then I'm like, "Good morning," because it's the first thing that I've said that whole day. So I gotta figure out how to in the morning not be too weird and be like me, hello, hello, me, hello, hello. So I'll figure it out. All right. So favorite guitar players. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a guitar player. This is the list of from 5 to number 1, not just on the guitar players that have inspired me, but it's a combination of inspiration on their playing, but also their impact into music and into the world. So this is a little bit of my personal with the world, with what I think the impact is has been. So number 1 is this gentleman right here, Joe Banamasa. So If you don't know Joe Banamasa, he is from upstate New York. A phenomenal guitar player, mainly based in blues, but he can pretty much do anything with the guitar. He's probably the he's probably one of the best as far as technique right now is concerned, technical abilities. He's really just phenomenal. Very, very. Ethan, how are you, sir? Thank you very much for stopping by. He says, Yo, Soto. All right. Thanks for hanging. So we're talking about guitar players, and Joe Bonamassa has been my, I've known about him for years. Obviously, he opened up for BB King when he was 12 years old, so he's one of those freaks of nature. He's also a tremendous guitar collector and a guitar nerd, and he has a lot of information in his head about guitars and history of guitars and all that stuff and the art of the guitar itself, not just the playing of it, but the actual instrument itself. So he's great. I love to watch him. If you're interested and you don't know who he is, you got to check out this live concert. It's a live. You can watch the video or you can get the audio. It's called Joe Bonamassa live at the Greek Theater. And in this, he does a lot of he does some BB King songs. He does a lot of blues songs. He does a couple of heavier songs, but just a tremendous guitar player and pretty funny guy too, actually. Okay, so now the second one that I'm gonna talk about here is this gentleman. Now, remember that this is not the list of my favorite, because if it is, the list will be a little bit different. If it's just a guitar player that I just listen to the most, but this is a little bit different. So this gentleman right here, Carlos Santana. Carlos Santana for me was the reason I wanted to play electric guitar, because before that I had a Spanish guitar. My grandfather bought me when I was about 9 years old. And then one day I heard on the radio, I heard Black Magic Woman. And I was like, that's an interesting sound, that guitar. And then I heard it was like they were doing a block of Santana. They used to do that. I mean, they might still do it on some radio stations, but they'll do a block of an artist. And they did a block of Santana, and they did Black Magic Woman. They did, and then Oye Como Va came out. And when Oye Como Va came out, it was like my brain, something happened, and I was just like, "What is that sound? What is?" And remember, this is way before the internet. I couldn't just Google anything, so I had to go and find out who this Santana guy is, and I just had to keep listening and keep listening. And then I went to the record store. This is what you do, and you look at the S. Santana. Oh, and then you see, and you look. I remember taking the album and turning it around and seeing if what the guy looked like, and if he was playing a guitar. Could have been another Santana. It's just like an opera singer or something. So I look at it, and sure enough, he's there holding a guitar and stuff. And I was like, oh, nice. So I remember buying that, and then that's when I realized, what's that sound? I want to kind of figure that out, and then I started Santana. So if you're not familiar with Santana, or if you're interested in kind of hearing him, what I think is his best live performance recorded. Carlos Santana is a guy who he was in Woodstock, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? I mean, this guy's legit. And he also really infused that Latin flavor, African rhythms with blues and jazz, and a lot of his runs, the guitar runs that he does are really blues runs, but with a lot of Latin fusion in there, as well as he does a lot of he listens to like these trumpet players and these sax players, and he takes the runs from sax and trumpet, which is really difficult to do. But if you listen to his playing, that's how incredible he is, and that's what he's done. So his best live performance, I feel that it's Santana's Sacred Fire live in South America. And this is I think it's like an hour and something concert. He does everything on all the hits on here. This is from 1994, I believe. It's either 94 or 95. Well, maybe even earlier. It might be actually 91 now that I remember. But Um, this album right here is really, so go to your Spotify, download it, and listen to it, because it's definitely it's just real. I think it's when he was at his best. Like everything just came to, the band was fantastic. He had such great musicians in that band. I mean, he's always had great musicians, but I think everything just really came together for that show. Yeah, so he's fantastic. All right, so I would even put him maybe number two on my list of incredible, but right here he's number four, only because I'm also including the impact that he had. He had a tremendous amount of impact. Now this gentleman right here, for those of you who this is Stevie Ray Vaughan. Now Stevie Ray Vaughan is my number one all-time favorite guitar player of all time, without question. The guy that I found him late in my playing years. Um, it wasn't Texas Flood, which is his first record. It was his second record, which I think is Soul to Soul, I believe. I don't remember, but that's the one where I kind of found him and started hearing him on the radio. Um, and and then when Crossfire came out, which is his last studio record before he passed away. It was in a helicopter crash, actually. And um before that, he put out this record called Crossfire, and that record was what, to me, was what I really just found him and just fell in love with him, and then became obsessed and got try to buy every single thing. I used to go to a place down, which is not there anymore, of course, but in New York City there was a place down in the Village, and they would sell old records and all new records, old records, 8 tracks, see whatever music, old stuff. But you can order bootleg copies, which I know is illegal, or I didn't know at the time, but I saw these things, and they were like, you pull out these live concerts of Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I was like, can I get? They don't have it there. Like you have to order it, and it comes like in a week or something. So I remember going there, and I was like, can I get this? And it wasn't cheap either. I remember it was like, yeah, that's like $30. I was like, $30 for a live concert in the mid '80s or something, of Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I was like, I gotta do it. And I would go pick these up, and it would not be the highest quality, but you can get enough of, it's not studio, obviously, but it would be fantastic. And it's a show that's not really out there, So I had a few of those. I still have those. Um, and he was just incredible. And I remember the day he passed, what happened was there were 5 helicopters leaving a concert, this big show. He played amazing, and everybody who's anybody was at that show. Um, Eric Clapton was scheduled to take the first helicopter out of that concert, but Stevie Ray Vaughan asked Eric, can I go on the first helicopter, because he wanted to go and see his girlfriend, who, I think it was some that was celebrating something. And Eric, being the great guy he is, was like, yeah, sure, no problem. That's the one that went down, and we lost a legend. He was only 36 years old, um, and it was tragic. It was August 16th, 1990, and can't believe it's been 21 years now. 1990, no, 30. Oh my God, 31. Hello. So yeah, it's incredible, incredible. But he certainly is my favorite guitar player, and his impact was tremendous as well, because he kind of brought the blues guitar back again. You know what I mean? People were just like, "Wow, I forgot that can happen with the guitar." You know what I mean? It's like, and then he made it contemporary. The album Crossfire kind of made a little bit of a crossover, and he was on TV shows and stuff playing the song Crossfire. And there's another song on there called Tightrope, which is incredible. There's The House Is a Rocking is on that. There's a whole these great tracks on there that kind of crossed over to a little bit more contemporary stations. Not really pop, but it kind of, people were started realizing, oh, this guy is the real deal. And he was fun. He dressed, I mean, he dressed really cool, like this and stuff. But yeah, I thought that was great. So there's two shows that you can watch from him. There's one that I didn't have an image for, but it's Austin City Limits, which is a very popular show shot in Austin. And Stevie is was from born in Dallas, raised in Austin. He's kind of a legend in Austin. There's a lot of great guitar players in Austin, Texas, actually just in Texas in general. Um, and so he would always play, play places over there. So Austin City Limits was definitely one of them. Now he played it once in 1983. Now in 1983 he played, he was on drugs, unfortunately, and he looked very pale. He played incredibly. I mean, it was just an amazing show. And that you can see here, which is called El Mocambo, live at El Mocambo, and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. Let's not forget Double Trouble. Chris Layton and Tommy Shannon, which are drums and bass for which are known as Double Trouble. Um, and he later on he had Reese Wyans, who, by the way, Reese Wyans now plays with Joe Banamasa a lot, Hall of Famer. But this concert right here, definitely a must to listen to. And then go listen to him on um, Austin City Limits, the last one he did, which was 1989. He was clean. He was alert. His eyes were open. He was looking at the audience. He was having fun. He played ridiculously good. I mean, just so phenomenal. Um, and a year later, he's taken from us. But he was clean. He was alert. He was at the top of his game, and he looked fantastic. I mean, it was just a great, great show. So check that one out. I have that on DVD also, and it's really great. And that's live at Austin City Limits. I do a lot of live shows because I think live is really where you can listen to the record. The studio records are always great, but I like to see them perform. All right, the next one is, well, we were just talking about him. He gave his helicopter to Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't blame Eric, of course. Eric Slowhand. What can you say about this man? This is the man. You know what I mean? This is the guy, from from the Yardbirds to Cream to then Derek and the Dominoes, Blues Breakers, and then his solo career just fantastic. Winning numerous Grammys and awards. And I saw him live twice in Madison Square Garden, and both times were just phenomenal shows. The whole band is fantastic, as you can imagine. But Steve Gadd was on drums, Nathan East on bass. I can't remember who was on keyboards. I forgot his name, but just an amazing, amazing band. And his playing was just phenomenal. This was 90s that I went to go see him. And this is a man who impacted, really, who took the guitar. I mean, this is a guy who was called God. Remember, there in England, there people were spray painting on the walls. Clapton is God. And he's just like, what? But that's what they thought of him. He was just that good. Now, a story has it that there's that. Oh, well, let me just tell you about the concert that you should definitely check out. So, 24 Nights is a wonderful album put together of 24 nights that he shot, and recorded and filmed and all that stuff at the Royal Albert Hall, which was a venue that he's played a billion times. And so this is 24 nights. And so if you want to hear Clapton just at his best, check out this record. This one is fantastic. It's called 24 Nights, Eric Clapton. So a famous story happened that this guy came to England to play guitar, and everybody was blown away by this dude. And Eric Clapton heard about this guy that came to England, blown away. Pete Townsend from the Who called Clapton and said, "Hey, I heard about this guy that's in town, phenomenal guitar player." Now remember, Clapton is God. Pete Townsend is Airwind guitar player from the Who, blowing everybody away. And the Who is just such a great, powerful band. Um, and I love Pete Townsend too. I didn't put him on the list, but he's definitely up there, top 10. And so Pete and Clapton get together, and they say, you know what, why don't we go check this guy out? He's playing at this place. So they go down there and they're sitting in the audience and they are blown away. They are in complete awe of this gentleman who is my number one pick for influential and my one of my favorite guitar players. And it's of course Mr. Jimi Hendrix. Um, Jimmy is one of those guys that only happens once, probably every 100 years, 1,000 years, maybe. It's a phenomenon. It did not make sense what he was doing at the time. A lot of people, and I watch a lot of these shows, a lot of these live shows, and I watch the audience. The audience is not, some of the audience, they're not getting it. They are like, what is he doing? He's playing with his teeth. He's playing behind his neck. He's, the famous story of him burning the guitar. That was with Pete Townsend, as a matter of fact. Nobody, they didn't want to follow each other because they're all hard acts to follow. And he said, I'm not following you. I'm not following you. I'm not following you. And Pete Townsend had a little bit of a bigger name at that point in England, and he made the decision saying, "I'm not following you." And they were doing this show together, and Jimi Hendrix sat down on a chair for a few minutes, and he played, and then he got up and he said, "If I'm following you, then I'm going to pull out all stops." And he walks out of the room. And that was the day that he burnt his guitar and he sacrificed the guitar and he did all this crazy, psychotic, crazy thing. But that's a show that everybody remembers, obviously. And he did a lot more than that. He didn't smash his guitar, and he created a style of playing that till this day is emulated by so many great guitar players like John Mayer, who's one of my favorite guitar players. He didn't put it on the list. John Mayer still, I feel like, he's sort of like, I think, has a lot more to go and a lot more to do. I think he's going to do incredible things. He's going to be the Clapton of this generation, of my generation, really. And I think it's just going to be a lot going on with him in the future. Um, but when Jimmy came out on the scene, it wasn't something that people understood that you can do with the guitar. You know what I mean? You just didn't play that way. Everything was different about it. And this is why his impact was so tremendous until this day. He was 27 years old when he passed. Until this day, we're still revering this guy. You know what I mean? Yeah, the Brian says he changed music forever as an amazing artist. He did. He had the overall package was Hendrix. You know what I mean? Like, he is still to this day, if somebody, what people look at, what it is to be an incredible artist. You can't deny the power of Hendrix. And there's a lot of great live things that you can see, even on YouTube. You can go on there. One of my favorites, because it's such an odd looking show, one of my favorite shows, Hendrix shows, is this one right here. It's Jimi Hendrix Experience live in Maui. Now, Noel Redding, um, the bass player here is actually Billy Cox. So this is where it says Jimi Hendrix Experience, but this is when they were kind of transitioning to Band of Gypsies, and that's what he was calling themselves. So this is sort of like the first show. This show is so odd because it's in this strange little stage by the beach, and it's just a stage that's standalone. There's really no backing. The back right there you see right there is the sky, the actual sky. It's the actual beach behind them, and then the audience is kind of sitting down on the sand, and it's just a weird show visually. But there he is, and it's in color, and it looks fantastic, and it's like you can feel it being there, with this. And you can look at the audience because they pan around. This is when they allowed cameras on the stage. They don't really do that anymore, since a lot of artists don't like to have a camera in their face. Usually it's around this area and they have smaller ones on the stage. But back then they couldn't do that. They had to go right on the stage and put the camera like on. So you get a panoramic view of the audience. And I tell you, a lot of there's some people dancing, they're doing that 60s dance that they used to do. But then a lot of people are like this. They're kind of like, what is he doing? I'm not fully there. And he just really was so ahead of his time on everything that people just didn't get it. A lot of people just did not understand it. Um, and remember, he became famous in England. He wasn't famous here. He would go to England be a sensation, fill out places, and then he would come here to New York, and walk around the streets, and nobody knew who he was. I mean, this is Jimi Hendrix, if you can imagine, an incredible, incredible guy, and that had to do with Chaz Chandler from the Animals was one of the ones that really kind of discovered him, playing on this band. Actually, it was a girl that called him over and said, "You got to check out this guy. He's playing background for this band, but he's on the side doing all this other stuff and playing with the audience." And the band used to get pissed off at him, at Jimmy, because it was like he's taking all the attention away from the band, and he's backing up the band. So finally they were just like, Jimmy said, "I got to get out of here," and he did. And with the help of the guy from the Animals, Chaz Chandler, and others, they got him a record deal in England. Now Hendrix was kind of a maverick. He was a little bit, or kind of sort of a rebel. He would sign contracts with agents and then disappear for 6 months. And we were like, "Anybody know where he is?" He had when he was in New York, he had some drug issues, as we all know, and he would hawk his guitar. He would go to the pawn shop, hawk his guitar, and then they would get him a gig, and they'd be like, "Jimmy, we need you." He goes, "Where's your guitar?" "Oh, I pawned it." He goes, so they would go gather money and go get his guitar. And of course, because he was a left-handed player, but he would play a right-handed guitar strung left-handed. But when the pawn shop would get it, they'd be like, "What the hell is this?" So they'd have to fix it. So they have to restring the whole thing the other way. So they get the guitar back, and now they're looking at it and they're like, they got to restring the whole thing the other way again for him. So this went on for with Jimmy, and just a lot of interesting stories that you can, from documentaries that I've seen through my whole life. I used to rent VHS documentaries, a couple of them on PBS that I saw. I always loved PBS because the first time I ever visually saw Jimi Hendrix was on PBS. First time I didn't know what he looks like. I didn't know anything. I didn't have magazines. I didn't have money to buy magazines. He was never on television, when I was growing up. Um, and then I saw him and I was like, "That's Jimi Hendrix." And he looked fantastic. He looked like an alien. He came from outer space with powers, and it was just like I've never seen anything like that in my life. Doing that, it was incredible. So, Jimi Hendrix, number one, and check out Live in Maui. You can actually watch this on YouTube, as a matter of fact. The whole thing is on YouTube. It's only like about 30 minutes long, maybe. There might be more to it, and maybe there's a box set somewhere, or something, but it's a great, great show. And Billy Cox is the bass player on it. And Billy Cox is fantastic. He's still around. He's still playing. And he's got a guitar player that plays with him that's sort of a Hendrix lookalike kind of a deal. They do a whole, homage to the whole band of gypsies. It's Billy Cox and the band of gypsies, so it's pretty cool. You can check him out too. I like Billy. All right, so there you have it. Those are my top five as far as impact. Like I said before, Stevie Ray Vaughan is the guitar player that I've listened to the most and that I love. Joe Bonamassa, Santana. I mean, all these guys are to me. And I know people are saying, "Well, is there anybody new that you like?" Well, no, that's not true. Well, Joe Bonamassa is sort of new. John Mayer is still sort of new. I mean, even though he's been around for 20 years, both of these guys have been playing for that long. But no, there are some great guitar players. If you go on, see, there's a difference between being a great guitar player technically and creating great music, right? And if you go on Instagram and type in guitar players, you're going to see kids 10 years old, 11 years old playing these runs that are amazing, but they're just emulating, what these guys did, which is great. And so the technique is fantastic and they're playing incredible, but the songs that these guys put together, with that technique, that to me is what I'm impressed with. I'm impressed with the song. The songs are always going to be the thing. It's not going to be how well somebody can play, because like what do you call it, when people play really, really fast, shredding, right? Shredding, I've never been a shredder. I don't like shredding, unless it's somebody like Steve Vai or Joe Satriani, unless it's one of those guys, Nano Butenteg, whatever his name is, from Extreme. Those guys are incredible shredders because they're melodic and they're just fantastic, right? But if you go on and you see people type, it's almost like a novelty act. And I want something to put to music. I want to hear a song. I want to hear an experience. I want to hear a story in 4 minutes. I want to hear a story. I want to be transfixed into a something that takes me away and puts me into a different space because of the notes. Um, yes, so I can go on. Obviously, it's 30 minutes now. It's my longest show yet. All right, folks. I want to thank you for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. It is Friday. So please have a wonderful weekend out there. Make today great. Make the weekend great. Do the things that you love. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you all again Monday morning at 7 a.m. Don't forget tonight, 7 p.m., my new show. It's just, I'm only doing them when I have a guest. It's not going to be every day or it's not going to be every week. But this week and next week, I do have a guest. So tonight, I have Councilman Neil Carroll is going to be on the show. We're going to be talking a lot about stuff about the community and things. It's going to be a lot of fun conversation tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's the 7 p.m. show. So please, I have this right here. You can see this right here. 7 p.m. primetime interviews. Anything is possible when conversations are allowed to occur. This week is Councilman Neil Carroll. So please join us at 7 p.m. tonight for that conversation. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care of yourselves. And as always, peace. I missed.